first of all, what if the spouse, whether it's the wife, the husband, the partner, what if they are both working, right? So both spouses are working. And the other question is, what disqualifies a parent automatically, like drug use, stuff like that? Like what makes a parent unfit?
Absolutely. So again, going back to the best interest of the child, we have to look at the fitness of the parents, like Rami mentioned. So of course, what if there's a parent that's on drug use or probably has a very severe medical condition or is on very serious addictive medications, that might be a red flag for one spouse or the other parent to say, I don't trust that my children should remain in the full care of this parent. Drug use, criminal history is a very bad indicator. Unfortunately, this is a big thing in our community, but domestic violence. So if there's been a history of any domestic violence from either parent, that is an automatic, very big red flag and a possible disqualification of whether you should be the parent who's entitled to physical full custody of their children. There's an array of things, but usually fall under those.
And if the wife works and the husband works, or the partner and the partner works, and there is the question of distribution of assets, do they just factor in, what everybody made? And
yes. So if both husband and wife are working, we're gonna look to see who's the more moneyed spouse, which means who's making more money. Usually 95% of the time, someone's making a little more money than the other. So in that particular case, we would do what we call a pro rata share. There's a specific formula that we follow in New York to determine the exact calculations of how much each spouse should be getting, and it kind of sometimes it evens out. So I'm trying to find a simple way to explain this, but in this hypothetical, husband's making $400,000 and the wife is making $200,000. Right, so they're both making a good amount of money, but we would probably calculate that the husband is still supposed to give the wife something, but maybe much less than what she would expect because she's also working, and he can also probably claim some stuff from her. There's a formula that we work out. Sometimes it balances out, sometimes it just becomes a little smaller, a little complicated for me to explain for a hypothetical.
The $1 million question is always, is almost, is polygamy legal in the U.S., or is it, especially when you have a marriage that's common law marriage and you want to do a marriage through court now, obviously the question is, what are the consequences if you are actually discovered to have been married to two people at the same time in the United States?
So unfortunately, polygamy is not legal. It's actually a crime because, believe it or not, people can actually take advantage of having multiple spouses. So polygamy is a crime. But oftentimes you don't see that somebody's arrested for polygamy because although actually being married on paper in City Hall to two people in the same state at the same time is something you can get arrested for, being married to somebody in City Hall and then being married to a second person, maybe religiously, is technically not a crime. But in the state's eyes, it just looks at it as cheating. You're just a cheating spouse. It would actually look at your second as a mistress.
Okay.
Or a boyfriend, not so much the status of a spouse. So you want to throw a hypothetical at me, Rami, and maybe we can get more into detail?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's one of the questions we actually got from the audience when we first posted about this event, which was a situation where somebody had come to the United States. He actually was a citizen here. He had brought a spouse from Egypt or another country, whatever it is. I actually don't know the country. They were here for 6 years and they divorced. Now, I'm not sure the divorce was done on paper, but it seems like it was. So they had like an actual divorce decree. And now the question was, okay, can I now, marry somebody else, whether, religiously or through court?
So the most important thing you have to remember in New York, or particularly probably anywhere in America, is you have to be free to remarry. If you were married before, you have to make sure you are completely divorced and free to marry again. Now, before I answer the question, I just want to make sure for anybody who's listening that this is in no way an actual legal consultation. I encourage and advise you, if you are truly looking for answers and you are in a particular situation, to actually make an appointment with an attorney and have a consultation and describe every single detail of your marriage to that attorney so they can give you the best advice possible. The advice I'm giving now is very general and may not be specific.
Yeah, thank you for the disclaimer. And Madam Wala, we should do that for every legal in the beginning.
Yes.
We should do that for every legal
yes, I agree.
show. Go ahead, sorry.
And thank you for saying this. Yes.
Yeah, no.
Of course. So,
you're good.
Yeah, so in this particular example that you gave me, couple, I'm going to use the country Egypt just as a hypothetical. Couple was married in Egypt religiously. Then they eventually moved to New York, to the United States. I'm assuming the husband filed a petition for his wife, an I-130 petition for a spouse to get her green card. They lived together for 6 years, and then now they're divorced. Now
they are divorced in Egypt. He said the wife moved back to Egypt, and they divorced in Egypt. Now he wants to marry again in America. What should he do? Yeah. Okay,
so he divorced in Egypt. So my first question is going to be, exactly how did he get the divorce in Egypt? Did him and his wife physically go back to Egypt and go in front of a qadi and say, we want a divorce, and issue a divorce? Or was it a divorce that was issued without the presence of the parties? That can cause a little issue, because since he did an I-130 petition to get the green card for his wife, technically there is a record of them being a legalized married couple in New York, in America. So he has to make sure that this divorce that he got overseas in Egypt was actually a set decree, and that his wife was aware of the divorce. Unfortunately, lots of times people get divorces overseas and the spouse is not aware that the sheikh issued a divorce. So it's very important that we first ask whether his wife is aware or not. If his wife is aware and they both got the divorce and they're now living separated and he's completely free and he has proof of the divorce decree from Egypt, then technically I could say that there's an argument that he is free to marry another, but he should probably get married in City Hall just to make sure that there is no future incident of that happening again. But the most important thing that I'm mentioning is whether his first wife is aware of that divorce or not. It's very important.
What kind of crime is it, polygamy? Is it felony, or is it, I'm assuming it depends on the state, but.
It depends on the state, but my understanding is it depends on what you actually did with the polygamy. So if you intended to defraud the state, for example, you get tax benefits. Sometimes you'll get tax benefits if you file jointly, or if you claim your wife as a dependent, or something along those lines. If you're committing polygamy with a purpose to defraud the state, there can be certain levels of crime. It can go up to a felony level. So I'd have to double check on that. I don't want to say it is a misdemeanor or a felony. I'd have to just double check on the level of the crime.
Madam Wala, we can go on and on. So you can tell us like what the timing is.